Rot in the root cellar. I remember the day they laughed at me like it was yesterday. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows on the kitchen table where my family gathered for dinner. My father, a stocky man with a voice like thunder, slammed his fork down, sending a splatter of mashed potatoes across the tablecloth. "You're going to disgrace this family, you know that?" he spat, his face flushed with anger. "Chasing those ridiculous superstitions, you're going to lose your mind." I had just shared my findings on ancient agricultural spirits, how they could protect crops from blight. The room erupted with mocking laughter, each chuckle a knife digging deeper into my heart. My mother shook her head, her disappointment palpable. "You need help, dear," she said softly, her eyes filled with pity, as if I were a child lost in a maze of delusions. That was the last family dinner I attended before I left our rural farming commune, armed only with my books, a tattered journal, and the belief that I could prove them wrong. The weight of their ridicule hung over me like a suffocating fog, but I was determined. I immersed myself in folklore agronomy, scouring old texts, interviewing elders, and eventually venturing into the cursed fields that my family had long avoided. Years passed. I became an expert in occult agriculture, known across the country for uncovering truths that others dared not face. My work was not just a career, it was a lifeline. I survived the horrors that lurked beneath the soil, malignant forces that promised protection but demanded a terrible price. I learned to commune with the spirits of the land, to harness their power, and I grew in understanding and strength. I returned home only after becoming a shadow of my former self, a vessel filled with dark knowledge. I wanted them to see the truth. I wanted them to understand the weight of their disbelief. The day I arrived was overcast, clouds thick and swollen like the doubts I had carried for so long. As I stepped out of my car, I felt the familiar ache of the land beneath my feet. The fields, once vibrant, lay barren, remnants of the crop blight that had driven me away. I approached the house, my heart pounding in my chest like a frantic drum. My family stood on the porch, their faces a collage of surprise and discomfort. They had aged, lines etched deep from years of hard work and worry. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the encounter, and stepped forward. "I've come back," I announced, my voice steady, yet laced with an unsettling chill, "to show you what I've learned." Their expressions turned to skepticism, and I felt the familiar sting of their disbelief. "What can you possibly show us?" my brother retorted, his arms crossed defiantly. "You're the one who ran away." I smiled, a grim, unsettling smile. "You'll see," I whispered, and I turned my gaze toward the fields, now shrouded in an eerie mist. "You'll all see." That night, as darkness enveloped the countryside, I led them into the root cellar, a dank, musty space they had long ignored. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and something more sinister. I had prepared for this moment, gathering the remnants of my research, herbs, bones, and jars of soil infused with the very spirits I had learned to command. "Watch closely," I urged them as I began to chant the incantations I had mastered. My voice echoed off the stone walls, vibrating through the very marrow of the earth. The ground beneath us trembled, and the air thickened, charged with an energy that felt both ancient and terrifying. At first, there was silence, then a low rumble, like the growl of a waking beast. My family exchanged nervous glances as the shadows in the cellar deepened, twisting and curling like smoke. And then, from the soil, emerged a figure, an ethereal, shadowy silhouette, flickering like a flame. Fear washed over their faces, and I could see the realization dawning. This was no mere superstition. The spirits I had invoked were very real, their power undeniable. My brother stumbled back. his bravado evaporating into sheer terror. My mother's eyes widened, horror etched into her features as she clutched my father's arm, anchoring herself to him as if he could shield her from the truth. "Stop it!" my father shouted, his voice quaking. "This isn't real." But the figure grew more defined, the whispers of the spirits filling the air with a haunting melody. I felt a surge of power, a vindication for all those years of ridicule. "This is what you mocked," I cried, my voice rising above the chaos. "These are the forces you refuse to acknowledge." The shadows danced closer, and I could see the spirits' faces, twisted, angry, and filled with a sorrow that resonated deep within me. They were the protectors of the land, the guardians I had learned to respect. But they also bore witness to the scorn my family had heaped upon me, and their wrath was palpable. In that moment, I understood the cost of their disbelief. The spirits hungered for recognition, for acknowledgement of their existence. I had become their conduit, and my family was now at the mercy of what they had dismissed. I took a step back, watching as my family faced the consequences of their ridicule. The shadows swirled around them, enveloping them in a mist of forgotten fears and buried regrets. My heart ached, not for their suffering, but for the vindication I had longed for. As dawn broke, the spirits faded, leaving my family trembling in the cold light of day. I felt their eyes on me, filled with a mix of terror and newfound understanding. They had witnessed the truth, my truth. I stepped out of the root cellar into the morning sun, a chilling clarity washing over me. I had survived the darkness, and now I bore its weight with pride. My family's laughter had been silenced, replaced by the echoes of what they had once deemed insane. The land whispered its secrets to me, and I was no longer an outcast. I was a harbinger of truth, a testament to the horrors they had refused to see. As I walked away, I knew I would never look back. The cost of their disbelief was heavy, but it was theirs to bear now. I had become what they had feared, and in that I found solace. The shadows would always be with me, a reminder of the darkness that lay beneath the surface, waiting for anyone foolish enough to ignore it.